Ever since I can remember, I've been building bridges, not the kind that connects highways or traverses rivers, the kind that creates an understanding between increasingly divergent thoughts, between everyday people on the street and on the ground, and the decision makers who are in boardrooms. You know, my old boss used to say, decisions born in boardrooms die on the streets. This has never been more true than it is today. Except today, those decisions are reincarnated, turned into memes, and immortalized on the internet. Increasingly, there are a dwindling number of participants in the game who wants to be an African business decision maker. And it's not surprising. There's a number of reasons why. If you look around at what's happening on our continent, we have pandemics, dwindling economics, we've got wars that are happening in different countries, corruption, systematic challenges that are hindering basic service delivery. We also have just a plethora of social crises, creating an overwhelming sense of fluidity in the attitudes, needs, and behaviors of people on the continent. So it's, in essence, what we're really seeing is we're under pressure as a society to do way more than merely adapt in this environment. We're being forced to shape it. One of my favorite computer scientists, Alan Kay, actually said it best. He said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So this pressure to imagine and then construct a future has emerged not just out the blue. It's something we've been seeing developing over the last couple of decades with some remarkable examples of why we need to pay attention. Think of Apple's insistence on research during Y2K, 9/11. You know, they lost 33% of their total revenue as a result of the depression. And even then, they still spent an emphasis on research and making sure that they could understand what people's ideas and needs and values were. The same is happening locally. Think of PEP's incessant need to continuously invest in research on its core lower income customers, despite being the hardest hit on the continent over the last 2 years, the results of which we have amazing examples of new and innovative new product extensions. Think PEP Home, think new PEP stores, think PEP Cellular. That's what gaining and keeping an advantage is all about today. Keeping abreast of something we like to refer as cultural intelligence. An outsider's seemingly natural ability to interpret someone's unfamiliar and ambiguous gestures the way that person's friends or family or like a peer group would be able to through research. Cultural intelligence actually allows us to dream by taking advantage of 3 amazing disciplines. One of them, which I refer to a lot, is anthropology, essentially looking into the past to study, what makes humans tick. Consumer research, which all of us here should be able to understand, which looks at the present, takes a snapshot of human behavior and tries to explain it. And then trend forecasting, which we're hearing more and more about, using foresight tools to look into the future. All of these 3 disciplines are very important, especially now. And people keep asking the same question. They say, why is it that it's become so important? Despite the tools we have access to today, and think social media, think Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, think big data, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, Google Analytics, think our HR departments with psychometric tests and the plethora of data and information that's out there. Despite all of these resources, our ability to empathize with other people doesn't seem to be expanding, and research seems to back that up. The more research you uncover, the more evidence you're finding that it's actually the opposite direction, where we're struggling and we're more polarized than we've ever been before. Nowhere is this more relevant than in the myths that continue to cloud perceptions of the African continent and its customers. Indeed, much of the research that attempts to understand our customers is either based on quantitative big data research, or it's developed with an arm's length away from our customers. Indeed, one of my favorite quotes of all time is from Saatchi & Saatchi's Kevin Roberts, who once said, if you want to understand how a lion hunts, Don't go to the zoo, go to the jungle. And that is essentially the key problem. We're looking through the microscope, the wrong way around. And you can really see this in the way that you hear marketing departments speak about customers and describe interactions. Often I'll hear terms like guerrilla tactics, targets and segments, ambush marketing, positioning, barriers to entry. And I always laugh because it always struck me that this feels more like the description of an invasion than it does the foundations of a mutual interaction between two people with mutual respect. The need for a sense of discovery and adventure that remedies this perspective is what has informed my research and the co-founding of our business over the last 21 years. It's what's led to us debunking African myths like African youth tend to be less religious than their parents. In Algeria, for example, parents have actually been French. They smoked cigarettes and have laissez-faire attitudes. Young people will say, we don't. We're much more conservative. Other myths like being a rebel is about standing out, for example. If you get someone who's a Gen Z from South Africa, they'll say, I want to be an individual, just like all my friends. Trends move from the haves to the have-nots. In places like Nigeria, for example, the most important button when we do research into applications is not the download button, it's the upload button. Consumers are creating and not just consuming. As Africans, it's becoming abundantly clear that we're on our way to killing our inferiority complex. The path to competing globally or having the edge lies not with the collection of data points in research on customers, but actually on the ability for us to empathize with them on a human level. If we encourage those around us to see this, they'll realize that besides the broken narrative that often surrounds the continent, there is an Africa that offers the world a multitude of opportunities born from a vivid understanding of customers. And that's what's going to help us imagine a different world, and therefore better products and better services. The irony is, we've embraced all these negative myths about our continent, while simultaneously keeping the best about us a secret. Well, today I'm actually here to snitch. As Abraham Lincoln once said famously, it's not me who can't keep a secret, it's the people I tell those secrets to. To win today, we need to harness the imaginations of the people on the continent through empathetic research that doesn't merely try to just measure and describe opinions, but rather capture the essence and cultural impact of what that means. If we do this, we will learn that there are many things that are existing about our continent today that we can build this imagination off of. And the first thing is our youth. We have one of the most resilient customer bases in the world. Think about our young people. Many youth 15 to 24 express the burdens of unemployment. In South Africa, more than 55% at the time, and exposing significant gaps in education that we see all over the continent, especially when it comes to those entrants who are eventually able to even go into tertiary education. Despite this, I have found that when I investigate African markets and I have conversations one-on-one with youth, and I ask, how many young people feel confident about their futures? Overwhelmingly, the majority reply optimistically, expecting their standard of living to improve. So whilst we shouldn't romanticize survival tactics, this type of resilience is a hallmark of us as Africans. People who wouldn't want this as a characteristic of their customer base just don't make sense. 2, we are insanely innovative. The chaos and randomness of everyday life on the continent isn't a barrier towards innovation. Increasingly, it's actually proving to be the catalyst. Most of the most innovative cultural trends coming from our underprivileged communities are the ones that are having the big global impact. Think Amapiano, think streaming services, think about the ways people are using WhatsApp to start businesses. If you don't believe that this is creativity and innovation, just visit Yabacon. That's Lagos's version of Silicon Valley. If that doesn't work for you, go ahead and visit some of the 600 plus tech hubs that are all scattered across the continent. Innovation is very important. We have also a third secret weapon, which we've been hearing a lot about in recent times. And that is that one of the most exciting developments that we've observed, especially in recent years, has been a shift in this conversation about the importance of women contributing to Africa's future successes. Gender equality isn't just a social or labor market issue. It takes a rare and uniquely uninformed mind to believe that 50% of our continent's potential working population shouldn't be contributing to the economy. That's a bad idea. It's no secret that we've had quite a few things that have curtailed the progress of women on the continent. Everything from social, political, economic, and cultural constraints, especially in those lowest of low-income countries, and as a result of colonialism's emphasis on things like cash crops, perceptions around religion, gender discrimination in the workplace, that type of thing. However, this generation has seen an abundance of African firsts. The first female president, the first Nobel Peace Prize winner, the first Forbes wealthiest woman, and a host of other globally renowned leading female-first African scientists, artists, and entrepreneurs. This should give us hope that we're going in the right direction. And to conclude, and just to leave you with a message to take home, not all progress is the result of advanced technologies or discoveries. All action is preceded by some type of thought. Many of today's innovations are the result of progress in the imagination. These have sparked the kind of thinking that's made the impossible possible. For this to happen, however, our imagination muscles as decision makers need to be exercised. Who better to take these muscles to the gym than the young people you're building products and services for? It's really important, therefore, that our edge as Africans on the global platform will only be realized when we can exploit our natural abilities and imagine our own futures.